well-being encompasses every aspect of a person's like life. It's well-being in physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, that whole person. And, a lot of times people define success by their business success, and they may have lots of business success, but their personal life is a mess, or their health is a mess. And that to me is not success. So well-being to me is success, but as it encompasses an entire person, like that entire, every element of you being well, that's well-being. And being joyful about it. Let's put that on top of it, okay?
How does a company even start to think about balancing this concept of that short-term gain with their overall well-being of their employee base?
When employees are not well on any level, they're not going to be functioning at their optimal. Like, if you want to look at it as employees as machines, which I wouldn't recommend, but let's just use this analogy. If they're not functioning properly, they're not well oiled, they're not fueled properly, they're not going to do their job. They're going to be, the wheels might still be turning, but very slowly. Or, so if you ultimately, like, this is a horrible analogy, but I'm going to use it anyway. If you want your people to, like, their work output to be optimized, you want them to be well in every level.
I do think companies are waking up to the idea, and I don't think any leader comes in and thinks, I want all of my employees to be miserable. But there are probably reasons as to why it hasn't been a focus. So what do you see as being kind of those major bottlenecks or constraints when it comes to getting to that next level of integrating employee well-being within your company?
One, I think it starts with that it's not optional. It's not a nice to have thing. Like, it has to be seen as integral to profitability. And it is. It really is. There is so much science and research behind the concepts that I'm teaching people into how it affects bottom line, how it affects productivity, how it affects retention and engagement. Like, these are not just like, oh yeah, that's nice. It's nice that my employees feel well and feel like they're healthy. But it actually, so anybody who wants to affect the bottom line should be paying attention to these things.
One area for sure where I've seen definitely be the issue that I would love your opinion on is a lot of people working in values-based organizations. So whether it's environmental or social, they tend to care so much about the topic and the cause that is sometimes at the detriment of their own well-being.
Mm-hmm.
How do you recommend those folks, and I will include myself honestly in that camp of trying to what might be sometimes labeled as compassion fatigue? How do you overcome that?
Yeah, well, it comes back to that phrase that you've probably heard before that they use on the airlines, and that is, put your own mask on first before trying to help other people. The air mask thing, which thank God I've never had to use on an airplane, but that's what it really comes down to is you have to take care of yourself. You have to fill your own bucket first before you can hand out anything from that bucket to someone else. And it comes down to, again, learning these tools and techniques to build your own resilience, to build your own health, to take care of yourself so that not only can you give more of yourself and do so in a way that you're not burning yourself out because you're not then no good to anybody, then also being able to teach these tools and techniques to the people that you're helping and help them on an even greater scale.
Well, with the same folks working very deeply in sustainability, we are at a very interesting time where I think the topic of sustainability or ESG more broadly has become certainly polarized, but definitely politicized. And I know that can take a toll on individuals in terms of our well-being, regardless of what side you sit on. So how do you typically recommend navigating that, I guess, even from an employee perspective, but even an employer perspective, and knowing that it can be a really sensitive time for a lot of folks in this space?
Again, it comes back to what are the tools and techniques. And so, I keep referring to tools and techniques. I'll share one of them so that we can be more specific about what we're talking about. But the concept of like a calming exercise, a grounding exercise could be called meditation. Some people push back on that term because they don't like it. But what we're really talking about, okay, let's say you learn how to do a grounding, calming exercise and you implement that, you practice it every day. It doesn't have to be long. It could be 3 to 5 minutes. Give yourself the grace and the space to do it every 5 minutes, or every 5 minutes every day.
I mean, I would love it every 5 minutes.
That's a little excessive. So that you can be in that grounded place, so that when things are happening around you, and they will, like stress and chaos and circumstances that you can't control, we can't change that. What we can change is how are you responding to it, instead of reacting from that reptilian brain of, everything's on fire. Like, how do you stay calm and grounded so that you can make better decisions, so that you can be more logical, so that you can have better emotional intelligence, and so that you're not, like I said, just reacting to everything that's thrown in front of you. And so if you can practice like a grounding exercise and commit to doing it every day. So one of the things I'm going to invite your listeners to do is commit to whatever it is. We're going to talk a little bit more, but commit to doing like a grounding exercise every day for 7 days. Give yourself 7 days and see if it changes anything. And if it doesn't, then either you can commit to another 7 days and see if that works, or you can stop doing it and like it was just an experiment.
I would echo it just as you're saying this from personal experience. I implemented something last year, and it was to the point where I had to set a timer on my watch of taking 5 minutes a day of reading a book in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And this physiological relaxation that I then experienced for at least an hour, maybe even a couple of hours after, I still can't quite believe how much of a change it can have. So I totally back you on that one.
Yeah, I'm glad you just brought up that it had that extended effect too. It's not just the 5 minutes that you're sitting there doing it, sitting, standing, walking, whatever. It's not just the 5 minutes you're doing the exercise. The effects are, one, they're cumulative over the days. So you'll feel it the first day, it'll be even more the second, the more the third. You're going to, it's like when you work out, that burn, the calorie burn goes on for a few hours.